The conversation about your doctorate because people can't find your dissertation online. Mm-hmm. How are you responding to that in this new era of your life?
When somebody say Dr. Bryant, it irks me. Where's your doctor at? Because I've done the research.
It seems like to me, if she does not get attention, she wants some attention. That's all I think. I think she's thirst trapping for the gram.
First of all,
this is what we spent a whole meeting on this.
First of all, Teray,
why don't you let me wrap the show?
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has made a career out of telling other people how to live their lives.
We have a very sensitive, coddled community, and I am not the one that's going to be on the bandwagon.
It's not about coddling. It's about inspiring people who made those bad decisions to make the best of those decisions.
She's a psychology expert, a relationship coach, an author, a television personality, and a woman who has built an entire brand around accountability, emotional intelligence, and becoming what she calls high functioning.
And how you do that is making sure that they hold themselves accountable for the decisions that they made, because before you can make a different decision, you have to have something called awareness. Awareness then creates accountability. If you're not accountable, you don't make different decisions. With all due respect, seriously, to all the women that you've encountered, ladies, I'm saying this, the reason why it's worked for you is because you have chosen and to prey on low-functioning women who don't have the emotional intelligence. No, I'm going there. Who will allow you to do that, Nick?
But there's something interesting about Dr. Bryant. The more you listen to what she says, the more her own story seems to contradict the advice she's giving everybody else.
Like, no, we need to find out about what's going on with her. She dating, single. What do that entail for a 42-year-old?
I am dating.
Dating, but single.
Enjoying my life. I have really good companions.
How many are you dating right now?
I'm not exclusively committed to anyone.
She teaches people how to build healthy relationships, but she herself does not have a healthy relationship to show, despite being engaged 4 different times.
You asked her the same question as well. Yeah. Well, what about you? And she talked about how she almost jumped the broom 4 times.
She's been engaged 4 times.
So once again, my therapy lights went off, and I said, here it goes again. The reason Dr. Bryant never managed to jump the broom on those 4 occasions, she has a tendency to want to over-control her mate as a means of preventing the abandonment.
She teaches emotional regulation, but during an argument with Toure, she called him feminine and mocked him as a softie.
First of all, Teray,
first of all, we're getting out of here. Like, what is the point? What is the point? It says go to host up
when you're talking to me. Lower your fucking voice when you're talking to me, because you're acting very, very gentle, very soft, and very feminine.
So when the woman teaching millions of people not to let their emotions control their behavior gets angry and starts personally insulting somebody, people are naturally going to have questions. She's described herself as a therapist and talked about treating people with serious mental health conditions in the past, but today she says she's not a therapist, she's a life coach.
Let's talk a little bit, Dr. Cheyenne, about where your expertise comes from in terms of doing life coaching. You also are a relationship expert, and you do couples therapy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to get into that.
So I originally started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist about 17 years ago. And I did that for a few years. And then once I obtained my doctorate degree in counseling psychology, I transitioned over into a life coach.
And then there's the title in front of her name, doctor. When people started questioning the doctorate behind the title, Bryant had an opportunity to put the entire controversy to rest. But instead, she said something that only created more questions.
Why not drop doctor from your name if you cannot bring forth the doctoral degree?
So I've already covered this, right? And we're here obviously to talk about my new book. So I've earned the title. I have multiple degrees, and I'm not going to prove anything to anybody. And we're going to leave it just as that.
And then months later, another university stepped forward to validate her title. And the story behind the doctorate would create an entirely new set of questions.
How many doctors of psychology have you given ever?
Only one. So literally the university was created.
And who's that one? Is it Cheyenne Bryant?
Cheyenne Bryant.
Any one of these things by itself could probably be explained. But when you start putting them together, when one explanation creates another question, and that question creates another contradiction, you start wondering how someone who has built her entire career around accountability could have so many unanswered questions surrounding her own story. So my main question is, Who exactly is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant? Let's talk about it.
You might start as far as like a therapist. I started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist about 18 years ago. Before I obtained my doctorate degree in counseling psychology. Once I became a doctor of psychology, I transitioned from a therapist to a psychology expert in private practice. And so I no longer practice under a license. I now am in private practice. That's what I'm saying. And that's what people don't understand, right? So just to educate some folks a little bit, a license is really only needed so you can bill insurance.
Before people started questioning her credentials, and before her name became a debate online, Cheyenne Bryant had already spent years building a reputation as someone people should listen to. Bryant was born in 1982 and grew up in San Pedro, California, just outside of Los Angeles. Her parents were teenagers when she was born, and according to Bryant, from a young age, she naturally found herself helping people work through their pain and trauma. At just 17 years old, Bryant enrolled at California State University, Northridge, where she says she earned degrees in psychology and Pan-African studies. But interestingly enough, Bryant says she didn't initially know exactly what she wanted to do with psychology. It wasn't until later, while pursuing her master's degree, that she says she started recognizing some of the trauma in her own life. And the realization eventually became part of the foundation for the career she would build. Over the years, Bryant transformed herself into a recognizable face in the relationship and self-help space. She appeared on shows like Teen Mom, Family Reunion.
It's not a pretty exercise. Things happen.
Yeah, go ahead and get things off. Bitch, you've been faked in a bitch. Bitch, you do it then. Do it then. Do it then.
And Basketball Wives. She became a regular guest across podcasts and other media platforms, and eventually millions of people online would come to know her simply as Dr. Bryant. And with that title came authority, because Bryant wasn't just giving people generic motivational advice. She was talking about psychology, trauma, mental health, relationships, and how men and women should behave if they wanted those relationships to actually work. And one of the biggest ideas she would eventually build her brand around was something she called high functioning versus low functioning behavior. And according to Bryant, most women are getting it wrong.
Obviously, with my research, you spoke about low functioning individuals, male and female. What's the percentage of males or females that you counsel that are low functioning?
Collectively, or you want me to go male and female?
Break it down from male and female.
Okay. I would say, interesting enough, I would say that there are 70% low functioning women, 40% low functioning men.
What?
In her framework, a low-functioning person is someone who allows their trauma and ego to control how they respond when they're angry, hurt, or triggered. Instead of communicating, they attack, they insult, they intentionally say things designed to hurt their partner. And on the surface, there's nothing controversial about telling people they need to control their emotions. The controversy came from the way Bryant applied that idea. Because according to her, nearly 3 out of every 4 women were doing relationships wrong. And she wasn't shy about telling women what she believed they needed to change. Bryant talked about women being more feminine. She talked about allowing men to lead. She criticized women she believed were operating too heavily in their masculine energy.
When a woman is really muscle and she really is vertical in who she is, we can't wait to submit to one of y'all. It's just women who have insecurity, who have to stay in their alpha with the man because she's trying to prove to you that her masculine could outdo yours. But that's unequally yoked.
And for some people, this was exactly why they liked her. She wasn't afraid to say things that other relationships experts wouldn't. But other people saw something different. They saw advice that could be rigid, judgmental, and heavily dependent on traditional gender roles. And there was another reason people started questioning some of her relationship advice.
Do the girls who stand by her, follow her words, believe in her story, do y'all care? Do y'all care that she's may not even be into men when she's speaking about what she would do for a man or not do for a man, or she didn't choose a man? She's still trying to find her man.
I was engaged for 10 years, you know, because I kept calling it off. And he was like, you keep getting these degrees. You keep saying, wait for the next degree, we'll get married. And by the time I went and got my doctorate, he's like, baby, you done got 4 degrees.
I ain't waiting no more.
Engaged for 10 years.
I kept putting it off because I knew that wasn't my person. When we got about year number 5 or 6 and I seen that, I knew that he wasn't my guy.
And that's where her own philosophy starts working against her. because this is the same woman telling other people not to allow their trauma, ego, or unresolved issues to control the decisions they make in relationships. So by Dr. Bryant's own definition, was that high-functioning behavior? Now, being unmarried obviously doesn't mean someone can't understand relationships, and ending a relationship that isn't right for you isn't necessarily a failure either. But Bryant wasn't just another person giving her opinion about dating. She had built a career around telling other people what healthy and unhealthy behavior looked like. And eventually, some of the language she used to judge everybody else's behavior would be used to judge her.
Here is what I want you all to know. When you get a degree, a doctoral degree, it does not give you license to practice psychology. I have a PhD, but yet when I had that degree, I could not practice psychology in the sense of providing therapeutic services unless I was under the supervision of a licensed provider.
So before the internet started digging through her academic history, there were already people questioning the way she presented herself. And one of the earliest public examples came from Basketball Wives. During season 11, Bryant appeared on the show and immediately brought the same intense, no-nonsense energy that had made her popular online. But that energy didn't work for everybody. At one of Bryant's women's empowerment events, she got into a heated exchange with Brooke Bailey after Brooke refused to stand when Bryant told the women in the room to get on their feet. What started as something small quickly became personal, and the tension between the two women continued beyond that. By the reunion, Brooke wasn't just questioning Bryant's attitude anymore. She was questioning her professional credibility. Brooke challenged Bryant over her license and over statements Bryant had made about helping a client through serious mental health issues. At the time, a lot of viewers saw Brooke as somebody who simply didn't like her. Brooke herself said she was called a hater for speaking up.
Brooke claimed that during Dr. Cheyenne's event, statements were made about Dr. Cheyenne helping a young man, her client, as a therapist.
But when questions about Bryant's credentials started spreading in 2026, those old Basketball Wives clips started circulating all over again.
So today, what made you speak out today regarding the fake Dr. Cheyenne Bryant?
Well, I actually spoke out yesterday about it, and my first time speaking out was about 2 years ago when we were filming the season of Basketball Wives, and I just knew that she wasn't a doctor, not a licensed doctor. But I didn't find out until we were filming. At some point, my castmate Brandy told me that production had came to her and was telling her don't use the term doctor.
And suddenly, what had looked like reality show drama started hitting a little different. Because Brooke's argument was essentially this: if you're talking about mental health, if you're calling people clients, and if you're describing yourself as somebody who has treated serious mental health problems, then people have a right to know exactly what qualifies you to do that. And that question will become a lot more important later, because by 2026, Cheyenne Bryant would publicly acknowledge something that changed the entire conversation. She wasn't practicing under a therapy license. And once people heard her explanation for why, that answer created even more questions.
I'm in private practice. I make much more money. It allows me to have more leverage and really be hands-on with my clients. I'm not binded by BBS, the Behavior Board Science rules and regulations and ethics. And so it just opened up a whole nother, floor in industry for me.
And this is where her explanation doesn't make any fucking sense. Because when Cheyenne talked about why she preferred life coaching, she said she wasn't bound by the same rules, regulations, and ethics of the California Board of Behavioral Science. In simple terms, a licensed therapist has rules they have to follow. There are standards for how they deal with clients. There are professional boundaries. And there's a board that can hold them accountable if they cross those lines. A life coach doesn't have that same kind of oversight. And Cheyenne seemed to see that freedom as an advantage.
Hey y'all, I am Dr. Nicole K-Mac. I am a licensed clinical psychologist, licensed. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant says she isn't practicing under her license so she can make more money and isn't bound by strict board of ethics and the strict rules. And I just want to give a point of clarification. It's not a rule, it's a regulation and a law. These are laws to protect consumers and those who are seeking mental health treatment. It's a law, baby girl, not a rule. So what I want to point out is what sis is doing is illegal. This is not about opinion. This is not about a rule. This is not anything else but someone who says, this is what she is. She's a scammer. I'm gonna stop keeping it cute. She's a scammer. She is scamming y'all. She's scamming the field and she's lining her pockets. Let's call it what it is. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is a scammer.
Now, to be clear, there's nothing wrong with being a life coach, and being a life coach doesn't automatically mean someone doesn't know what they're talking about. But that's not what people were questioning. The question was, if you're a life coach, why spend years describing yourself as a therapist? And if you're working with people dealing with serious mental health problems, why would being free from professional rules and ethics be a selling point? Because remember, what her entire brand is built around is accountability, controlling your behavior, and being high functioning. And once people started questioning whether she was really a therapist, they started looking at something else. If Cheyenne wasn't a licensed therapist, then what exactly made her a fucking doctor? People started looking for her dissertation. They started looking for records connected to her doctorate. And when they couldn't find what they were looking for, the questions started spreading. Eventually, Cheyenne went on The Breakfast Club and explained what happened.
It's very simple. I went to a school, Argosy University, completed an entire program. I went back online to get my official transcripts because I was applying to a law school many years ago to be a professor there. And I had to provide my transcripts, right, to get hired. And I went to contact the school and say, hey, I need my official transcripts. I need my entire thing. And there was no school. I was like, okay, I'm confused. I Google. It says this school has been shut down. I said, oh, well, they got to have records. I mean, they were accredited when I attended the school. They were accredited when I finished the program. I go and look, there is a third party that has the records. Why I contact the third party, that third party only holds records for 2 years. I was past my 2 years. So that means that I had no access to records.
Now that sounds like an explanation, but then she added something that would make the story more confusing.
Luckily, I had, I do this with all of the schools. I had downloaded from the actual student portal my transcripts at that time, and I was able to get just about all of my transcripts, including up to like dissertation.
Which immediately creates another fucking question. If you still have some of these records, why not just show them? And this is where the controversy could have ended.
Hey y'all, my name is Shalonda. Last name Kungede, but most people call me Dr. K. And I went to school with Cheyenne Bryant, the very same school she got her degree from. Hold on. See that? Argosy University. Now, I don't know if she graduated or not. Now, what I can say is she is correct. The school lost its accreditation. Can you still get your credits? Hell yeah. I had to get a job for the government, goddamn. I also am in private practice, goddamn. You can still get all your credits. Your transcripts, you get access to that. You can't not get that. What the fuck is that? That's not true. So yes, she still can get it. She just lied.
People weren't asking Cheyenne to prove that she knew psychology, and they weren't asking whether she had helped people or not. They were asking a very simple question. Did you earn the doctorate you've been using in front of your name? And Cheyenne's answer was basically, I'm not proving anything to anybody. She said she earned the title and had multiple degrees, and her obedience was to God, not people.
And I'll land on this. My obedience is to God, not to people. And so as long as I'm in his will and I'm serving and I'm doing his word, my sheep will know my voice, even the sheep in wolf clothing.
Okay, cool, that's great. But that's where I have a problem with her response. When you build a public career using the title doctor, when people buy your books, pay for your coaching, watch you give mental health advice, and trust what you're saying partly because they believe you have that education, asking where the degree came from isn't some crazy question, especially when your entire brand is built around accountability. At one point during the backlash, she posted herself on a boat showing off her body and appearing completely unbothered by the controversy happening around her. Now obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Cheyenne can dress however she wants. She can go on a boat, she can post whatever picture she wants, but considering what people were asking her for, the timing definitely got people's attention. And then came the Netflix documentary trend. In July of this year, Cheyenne posted a video playing off a trend where people joked about what their future Netflix documentary would look like. Except Cheyenne's version went directly at the controversy surrounding her. She appeared wearing a graduation cap, gown, and hood. By that point, the message was pretty clear. She was still standing behind her doctorate. And once again, instead of shutting people up, the video gave them something else to investigate. People online started picking apart the graduation outfit. Some even accused her of buying the cap and gown online, saying that it came from Amazon. We don't know that to be true, and the cap and gown by itself wouldn't prove where somebody graduated from anyway. But that's almost besides the point. Every time Cheyenne responded, the response seemed to create another conversation. And just when it seemed like this couldn't get any more complicated, something happened that should have settled the entire debate. A university stepped forward and said Cheyenne Bryant really was a doctor. But there was just one problem. That university created more questions that needed to be answered. A school called Indiana Southwest Christian University entered the chat. And according to the school's president, Jaquel Pitts, Cheyenne had been awarded a doctorate in something called theocentric psychology.
I have here a copy of Dr. Bryant's doctoral diploma.
Yeah, doctorate degree.
Yeah, doctoral degree. I'm sorry, but it's a diploma. But yeah, it says Indiana Southwest Christian University hereby confers upon Cheyenne Bryant the degree of Doctor of Psychology, theocentric psychology.
Now on the surface, this sounds like exactly what Cheyenne needed, right? A university was publicly saying yes, she earned a doctorate, case closed. Except people started looking into the university, and that's when this story took another interesting turn. Journalist Mark Lamont Hill eventually interviewed Pitts and started asking him basic questions about the school. And one of the first things that came out was pretty surprising.
So joining us right now is Bishop Jaquel Pitts, who is the president of the university in question.
The university was just established in May of 2026. So in regard to Dr. Bryant's narrative about the school not being registered, it was just started in May of 2026. So it's not going to have any type of standing online. It was just established in May of 2026.
The university was brand new. Pitt said the school had only been operating for around 8 weeks, which means this university didn't step forward with some degree Cheyenne earned 10 or 15 years ago. This was happening right in the middle of the controversy. Then Mark asked another question. How many people had this university given doctorate to? And according to Pitts, only one, Cheyenne Bryant. She was the school's first doctoral graduate. So that got me thinking, if Cheyenne was being given an earned doctorate, what exactly did she do to earn it? Pitts explained that the school used something called a prior learning assessment.
We initiated a process called prior learning assessment and credit for prior learning. And what that is that's an assessment on one's previous work in the field of psychology or theocentric psychology. And that is a process where we grant credits based on their vocational experience, their career background. There was also a forensic analysis conducted on the therapy sessions and life coaching sessions conducted by Cheyenne Bryant, and she has approximately 20 or more publicly available. And we made the assessment based on her prior learning and her work in the field of psychology to provide her with this Doctor of Psychology and Theocentric Psychology degree.
But even with that explanation created another problem, because Mark asked Pitts how the university verified the previous degree Cheyenne needed in order to qualify. And Pitts' answer was groundbreaking.
Did you attempt to get her, when you applied, did you look at any of her transcripts?
I didn't actually have access to her transcripts.
Why not?
That is a very tedious process to even acquire someone's transcripts.
You just go online and you type the name, you enter it, you give them I think a small fee. It takes about 5 minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately, we wasn't able to do that. However, we are aware that she does have a master's in psychology from the University of Phoenix, based on the viral Netflix video that she posted. If you look closely in the background, you see her master's of psychology degree.
So you affirmed her master's degree by zooming in on a Netflix video?
Yes.
And there was still more. Because as Mark continued asking questions about the university itself, questions started coming up about how the school was set up, how it operated, and what recognition it actually had.
I saw her doctorate was signed by you on the left there as president of the university. Who on the right, who's vice president of the university?
I'm vice president of the university.
This degree is signed by the president and the vice president, and they're both you?
Correct.
Solid.
And suddenly the institution that was supposed to end Cheyenne's controversy had become part of the controversy itself. You see, one of the biggest problems with building your entire brand around telling people how to control their emotions is that eventually people are going to watch how you behave when somebody gets under your skin. And that's exactly what happened during an exchange with Toure. The two were having a heated conversation about parenting and masculinity. And as the conversation got more tense, Cheyenne started getting personal.
Toure, Teray, you talk to your wife like that. You don't talk to me like that. I am not your wife. You don't talk to me like that. I'm not your wife, Gento. I'm not your wife, Softy. Don't talk to me like that. You talk to your wife like that, not me. Teray, talk to your wife like that. Do not talk to me like that. That is not how you professionally approach me. Don't fucking talk to me like that. Check.
Frank and Ariva, I apologize.
Check yourself. You don't talk to me like that.
Hold on,
to your
Doc.
wife like that.
Doc, hold on.
Shut the fuck up talking to me like that. That's what you do. That's what you do. You better tap into your gentleness and real quick.
Now remember what we talked about earlier. According to Cheyenne, low-functioning people allow their trauma and ego to take control when they're angry or triggered. And instead of communicating, they attack, they insult, and they say things designed to hurt the other person. Those are her rules, not mine. So when Cheyenne found herself in a heated disagreement and responded by calling a man feminine and mocking him as a softie, I couldn't help but think back to the standard she created for everybody else. Because if Touré's argument was wrong, then explain why it's wrong. If he was being disrespectful, call out the disrespect. But what does calling him feminine have to do with the argument? And there's another layer to this. Cheyenne has spent years talking about femininity as something women should embrace. She's talked about women being softer. She's talked about women stepping out of their masculine energy. So if femininity is something positive when she's telling women how they should behave, why did it suddenly sound like an insult when she used it against a man? We were now watching what happened when somebody challenged her face to face and watching her contradict her own teachings. And this is what makes Cheyenne such an interesting person to look at, because depending on where you see her, you might get a completely different version of her. And that's really what this entire story comes down to. Not whether Cheyenne Bryant can tell other people what they're doing wrong, but whether she's willing to apply those same rules to herself. Now, if you stayed till the end, I appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy my Andrew Tate video, where I break down why he's not the man he claims to be. And if you want to support the channel, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.